This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now for Thursday, August 8th, 2024. Cutting through all that bickering you hear elsewhere. Our number, should you decide to call, is 607-772-1290. You're listening to Binghamton Now. Hey, my. It's Thursday, and we are ready for whatever may transpire in the next 3 hours. Let's hit the phones hard. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. Dave from Vestal. Hey, Bob, this isn't the main reason why I'm calling, but, when I was watching the Weather Channel, looking at the radar, we're right in the center of that ugly yellow swath coming up to the northeast. And we can only hope that Dave was right when that cold front comes in and pushes that along faster. Because remember back in 2011, Bob, it seemed like it just hovered forever, like it was never going to go away. Word to the wise, Bob, help the towns out, because you can't count on them. If you got any debris, anything out by the roads, near the gutters, clear the drains, help them out. +2 on your house, Bob. If you got clogged drains that leads to basement water, we're going to have a mess. So we might as well do what we can to prepare. That's what I'm on my way to do. But hey, before I go, Bob, I had to mention a political observation. There's a reason why the Democrats sabotaged Bernie Sanders' candidacy when he was running for president, Bob. And that's because they know socialism does not cut it in this country.
Right. I was going to interrupt, but I wanted to hear it from you. He's unelectable. He's unelectable as president of the United States, not because he's a bad guy, but because of his political worldview, where he's aligned himself. Plus, he's not even a registered Democrat.
My question is, Bob, to you and to folks out there, what has changed between now and then where they now have a ticket along the same lines, Bob? Socialism is never going to win in this country, and people might as well get used to it. They keep pushing it and pushing it. It's not going to happen, Bob. Socialism, Marxism, never going to happen in this country. Those are two nice words, I guess, for communism. But it's, same ballpark. Just
no, they're not the same. And don't say socialism is the same word for communism. You're oversimplifying, and we're certainly not going to use this radio program to educate people about the differences. But, people have access to information. The Internet is really a resource to cherish. So if you're interested in looking at the real differences, look it up on your Internet.
Right. Same ballpark, different seats, Bob. That's all. Have a good, hey.
All right. And we'll see. Who knows? In 2028, it could be AOC and who is the, Taylor Swift. AOC, Taylor Swift, or vice versa. Put Taylor Swift on top of the ticket, although I don't think she'd want a pay cut.
Well, we could only hope she'd be on the top because she's smarter than AOC, man.
I don't know. I'm not sure whether either have taken any IQ tests. But that's neither here nor there. One thing that I know about the voters of the United States of America, they don't choose their president based on intelligence. 607-772-1290, a real radio program for real radio fans. Coming up later today, if you really like radio as much as I do, stay tuned. Dan Bongino at noon, Sean Hannity at 3. The most powerful opinionators on radio, Bongino and Hannity, right here at News Radio, WNBF 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, and streaming at WNBF.com. Seize the deal. I think you should. Seize the deal. WNBF.com. Take a look at some money-saving offers. Seize the deal. JNR Auto Upholstery, Crown Rust Proofing, Spray-On Bed Liner, and Remote Car Starter. Get a deal. Seize the deal. WNBF.com. Other opportunities include 50/50 deals for Sky Zone and Mega Birthday Party, Ross Park Zoo, dining deals, and 1-year family membership, North Street Tavern, Cones Ice Cream, Beer 30, 50/50 deals. Seize the deal. WNBF.com. It's 9:15. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Matt Ryan from Binghamton, New York.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome. You have a global audience, so please proceed.
Thank you for the global audience. Hey, the first caller today, he talks about socialism. And anybody who knows anything about this country knows we are closer to an oligarchy than we are to socialism. In fact, the whole Republican Party now caters to the J.D. Vance, Silicon Valley people who are the ones that think they know what freedom is and think they can define everything that we do. And that's the real choice in this election. We are, I mean, when over 90% of the wealth is owned by 1% of the people, that is so far from socialism. Don't you understand? And the reason why people even talk about socialism is because when you have unfettered capitalism and people don't pay their fair share of taxes, all the rich people don't pay their fair share of taxes, you get people talking about evening the playing field, and then the Republicans brand those people as socialists because they remember, that it worked back in Senator, what's his name? I forget his name now. From the 50s and stuff, McCarthy.
Yeah. McCarthy. Remember Joe McCarthy? McCarthyism.
Right, McCarthyism. So anyway, that's what it's the old playbook, and so as Kamala says, we're not going back. Well, all we want to do is, and I've been saying this on your radio program for a long time, we have more in common, the people who are the middle class have more in common than those people who are trying to tell us how to live, what books to read, who we love, all those things that are being talked about now.
But don't they know better, Matt?
Well, they don't know better.
They know better. They know best because they went to the best schools. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I mean, that is the thing. When people try to tell you whether about running your own life, that they actually know better than you have to stop and think and say, how is that even possible? How could anybody know better than myself how to live my life? They don't know my circumstances, and furthermore, if I could be kind about it, it's none of their business.
Right. As he said, none of your damn business, as Mr. Waltz says. Yeah, I was disappointed with his harsh language. I mean, he could have said, a lot of times during summer, parents are listening, and you don't want parents to have to hear that kind of language. Kids, of course, use it already, but the reason he used such powerful language is because he feels very strongly about that. Exactly. And, this guy's a breath of fresh air. And, J.D. Vance is not right, he's not ready, and he's not real. And that's what you get with the governor of Minnesota. He's the opposite of J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance, as we know, left wrote a disparaging book about where he grew up, and makes fun of it. And the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats is the exact opposite. He embraces his humble beginnings. And it really is. You said J.D. Vance, his whole roots were from, he went to Yale and then went out and worked in Silicon Valley. I mean, look at. I mean, do we really want somebody like Elon Musk and the garbage he puts on his? And he ruins.
No. You don't even have to finish the question. I don't want someone like Elon Musk. I don't want someone like Jeff Bezos. Right.
These are the guys that are calling the shots for.
Right. Because you know why? Because they're billionaires, Matthew. They got the money.
Finally, Pete, the Democratic Party is, I think, realizing that both parties were elitist. I still think we had more democratic notions than the other side, but we had a certain amount of elitism in our party, and we weren't paying attention to Main Street America. We weren't paying attention to a lot of things happened from both parties that didn't pay any attention to the middle class, and those days are over if you elect the current crop of Democrats, including Joe Biden, by the way. Even though he's old, he was the one who realized that, and he said from the bottom up and the top and middle out, instead of trickle down economics. That's where the difference is. That's where this election is going to be won, because people are sick of not having a voice, and everybody will have a voice, including we have to make sure we reach out to middle class Americans and those striving to be middle class Americans who we kind of poo-pooed. The elitists of the Democratic Party have not paid, not all of them. And that's, you call Bernie a socialist. Yeah, well, you're going to get called a socialist if you cater in this country, because somehow the other side has captured that narrative of everybody can be billionaires. Well, that's not true. The billionaires are the ones that prevent people from even being in the middle class, quite frankly, because they're the ones that shipped all the jobs overseas. They're the ones that started the whole manufacturing deportation. They're the ones that did most of this. Well, and Bill Clinton was part of it. Well, that's why.
Thank you for acknowledging. Also, thank you that it was William Jefferson Clinton who signed that act in 1996 that wrecked broadcasting as we knew it. So never let it be said that William Jefferson Clinton knew the right position on everything. Maybe he did a few good things. And we know some of the things he did that were pretty well documented, but some of the things he did actually, in my personal opinion, caused irreparable damage.
Well, I don't disagree. When you have like I said, when there was that whole period of time from 1980 on where we went from having a very good tax code that taxed people fairly. A graduated tax system where the richest paid what they should pay and everybody else paid what they should pay, from that to what we have now, which is ridiculous. The rich pay nothing. The super rich have every kind of avoidance. Donald Trump says, I alone can fix it. No, he is the swamp. Donald Trump is the swamp, and he wants to create a bigger swamp if he gets elected by getting rid of all civil service. I mean, it's like George Costanza, where that one episode where he tried to, say, do everything different than what made sense. And somehow people believe it. I mean, it's just...
Well, people are entitled, and let's not think poorly of those who support Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. They're our friends and neighbors, and I respect their choice. On occasion, I discuss their choices because, I mean, and some people have thought it through and taken into account even things similar to what you've said, and still believe that Trump-Vance would be the best choice. And, hey, I commend them. I encourage them. No matter who you support, even if you support RFK Jr., call into the program. I mean, I'm sure there's a Bear Cub lobby out there that wants to call in and is just chomping at the bit until they can get Yogi to dial the phone, Yogi 607-772-1290, to explain, Bears for RFK Jr.
I was going to say he's barely hanging on now.
Ha! Well, that whole story back when it broke, and I can't remember exactly what year it was, if only WCBS TV had not assigned it to a Cub reporter when the carcass of the bear was found in Central Park. If they had assigned it to somebody, I don't know, Marcia Kramer. She's the one who asked Bill Clinton whether he inhaled. If Marcia Kramer had caught that story for CBS 2 back when it started, when people discovered sadly, the bear cub's carcass that also apparently had stab wounds, which RFK Jr. has yet to explain. If indeed, see, elements of his story, Matthew, and you might understand this too, as an officer of the court, elements of his story at this point don't really add up.
Well, he had his challenges for sure.
Well, yeah, and look, I sympathize. I would not want to be in RFK Jr.'s shoes because of everything he's gone through. So, I look at the totality of his life and think, there's been a lot of sadness and tragedy in his life, and also things that appear to have been, caused by himself, but that's true of everyone's life. So I wish him only the best. I will say the latest revelation suggests that he would make a good zoo director.
I see what you did there. They assigned it to a Cub reporter.
Anyway, let's see if any other viewers. The problem, Matt, is now people don't even want to call in to support J.D. Vance. When J.D. Vance was first named, the phone lines were ringing off the hook with people who support him, and now they're silent. And I think that silence speaks volumes.
Well, like I said, I have a lot of friends. I play golf. It's a fairly conservative sport in some areas. And I just listen and we needle each other. And there's a lot less needling going on now that the Harris Waltz ticket's there, because I think people are realizing, oh, my God, I think everybody's, if this goes through, and the thing that you got to be really afraid of is that Donald Trump seems to be giving up now. He's going to have one rally in Montana. He's playing golf down in Mar-a-Lago. And what he's counting on now is that he's going to try to do what he did when he loses. He's going to try to do something crazy. And this time he has more of the pieces, and he's not going to go quietly into the sunset.
Well, there seems to be some sadness setting in and tinged with anger, to be expected. We're very familiar with his public persona, so of course he's always going to be angry, but now more than ever you get a sense of sadness and sort of resignation that his decades in the U.S. spotlight are about to come to an end, and that probably after November 5th, the spotlight will be turned off once and for all, except for the trials.
Right after he loses, I'd leave the country and go to a country that doesn't have extradition. Then we don't have to worry about prosecuting him.
What do you mean? Someplace like North Korea?
Well, yeah, or someplace like
he and Dennis Rodman. They could have one of those great adventure movies.
Right.
Donald and Dennis's Great Adventure, and they could watch American movies on VHS tapes with Kim Jong-un.
Yes.
Sounds like a feature. Thank you. 929 WNBF. Hello, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Oh, I'm sorry. Some water got into the lines. Bound to happen with this much precipitation. Water will get into the lines. We will continue to muddle through for as long as possible. At WNBF, Bob Joseph, Binghamton Now, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming, WNBF.com. Morning, Paul, you're on the air.
Hey, Bob, I've been thinking about what I want in the next president of our country. What kind of person do I want him to be? Do I want him to be a financial steward, spends our tax money well, and is concerned about the dollar Do I want somebody that makes us solid and secure again? I want a person that knows economics and spends their money well. What about you?
Absolutely. I want someone who's never declared bankruptcy. I want someone who has shown that when he has work done, he is willing to pay the bills on time without any kind of craziness, delays, and sometimes using the bankruptcy system to sort of get away with something. I want someone who has shown a track record of responsibility.
Okay, so may I say something? Who built up the oil reserves, bought oil, and the oil is cheap? And who's spending it now to keep prices down? Who in the United Nations made them pay their fair share? Who asked Mexico to help build the border? Who made all these trade alliances with China, Canada, and Mexico? This guy knows how to handle money, the former guy.
Yeah, he knows how to handle it. He knows how to handle his money, and he knows how to stiff other people. His record is perfectly clear. What
about the oil reserves? I mean, he knows how to make deals. He bought.
So he says. He talks a lot about the art of the deal. Some people have said the way he behaves in his business life is the art of the steal. Why is it that someone who is supposed to be so good with money has managed to file bankruptcy multiple times for his businesses? Why? Why isn't that a factor? I mean, the bottom line, if he wrecks the American economy in the next 4 years, the country can't declare bankruptcy. It'll be taken over by the Chinese. We owe so much money to the Chinese that it's a serious problem. And he helped contribute that during his 4 years in office. Spending continued to increase when Donald Trump was president.
No, it's not true. The stocks were up and the economy...
I didn't talk about the stocks. U.S. government spending continued to increase every year that Donald Trump was president.
Well, the only thing, I heard him during the last because of COVID, and I heard everybody. And that wasn't his fault, COVID. And he's good on taking care of our interests. And he's the one I would choose to be our leader because he knows more about the economy than the other two.
All right. Well, I respect your opinion.
That's just my opinion.
Sure. I would encourage you not to change your opinion. Go out and vote November 5th or early voting, which will start in October. Vote for the candidates you think will do the best job.
What do you think Harrison and the other former vice president would do with money? Are they good economists? Will they handle our tax dollars, tax money well?
I don't know. I guess when they're elected, starting January 20th, we'll find out. That's the thing. Until someone actually becomes president, you don't know how they'll behave. Same with governor. Remember how for 12 years, Republican George Pataki claimed to be, or purported to be, at least initially when he was elected, that he was some sort of spending conservative. Yeah, in all but one of his years as governor, since he was elected to 3 terms, in all but one of those years, New York State spending went up dramatically.
Harrison Walsh won't talk about what they're going to do. They won't talk about what they're going to do.
Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they say. It matters what they actually do. Donald Trump said a lot of things that got him elected in 2016. And some things he didn't follow through on. He said he was going to end the war. He was going to get Americans safely home from Afghanistan. For whatever reason, he chose not to do it. He said he was going to have a wall built and that Mexico was going to pay for it. It didn't happen.
We got your opinion, but not my opinion.
Yeah, you've been on the air I'm not going to sit here with a 60-minute stopwatch and time how much airtime you've had since you came on the air 6 minutes ago, 6 minutes and 4 seconds ago. So, yes, I've interjected, but I think the record will show you've had more than 50% of the airtime over the last 6.5 minutes.
You know what? One person's opinion on who'd spend our money better. That's all it is.
Well, that is all it is. And the one thing people saw is how he spent money. He was a tax and spend guy. It was odd because at the same time that U.S. government was increasing its spending dramatically during his term in office, he was busy sending people like you and me checks. So it's no wonder the country is still recovering from the mess made by Donald Trump, sending out checks to Americans with his big signature as if it was his money he was giving us. It was giving back some of our money, some of the money we paid that the U.S. government could not afford to spend. And that's one of the reasons we're in such a mess now.
Well, you don't sound neutral about who should be president.
Oh, I'm neutral. I want the American people to decide. I'm not encouraging anyone to vote for a specific candidate. Write in my name if you want. Or write in anybody's name. Or vote for one of the major party candidates. Or vote for one of the minor party candidates. I don't endorse anyone. I'll be happy. I'll be happy whoever wins. If Donald Trump wins in November as a talk show host, I'll be happiest. Because that guarantees me 4 more years of great content.
I think I know who you're going to vote for.
Yeah, maybe you do. Maybe you don't. A lot of times people think they know exactly who I'm going to vote for, and they don't. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And the bottom line is, ultimately, people have to make some important decisions. It's critical. Also think about Supreme Court appointments. It's not only about the economy. It's not only about your perception of who controls gas prices, which, by the way, no one controls gas prices. Supreme Court nominees and other issues, and even just the way this country, the USA, the way it's perceived around the planet.
What about the Space Force? He started that.
Yeah, it's going well now. We have astronauts stranded. Our astronauts are stuck up there. It was supposed to be an 8-day mission, and now it looks like our astronauts are stuck up there till February. So if there's a Space Force, why can't they be rescued? Why do they have to spend another 6 months in space? Where's the Space Force to bring our astronauts home? It's 9:42, WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Ooh. More water in the lines. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
942. Bob from Boston.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I was anxiously anticipating your contribution.
Your brain's in neutral, and it's in space, too. Man, I'm telling you, I just went for a walk, and I got in my truck, and that Matt Ryan was on. You two are chuckling it up. Don't you realize that if Trump doesn't win this, we're going to be taken over by Iran, China, Russia? Are you people chuckling on the radio like you're just so happy? I don't know, Joseph. Something ain't right with you. And that guy there made a lot of sense, but you kept arguing with him. And you hear me?
What?
No, yeah, you're probably on your computer looking what Trump did today. Why are you on Donald Trump every day, the whole 3 hours? It's sickening. You know how many people in the Triple Cities like him and would tell you where to go if they ever could talk to you? I don't know why people don't call here and do what I do. I just don't get it. I don't know. My friend can't stand you, but he goes, nah, I ain't calling. I go, why not? Tell this guy how you...
What do you mean? He can't stand me. How the heck would he know what my opinion is about anything?
Because he listens. But
well, what's the problem there? What's the problem? People who can't stand the host are still listening? Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, to see how stupid, outrageous you are. with this every day. It's the same. Somebody tries to make a point, you cut them off, you go on with your liberal communist crap. You are sickening. I don't know how those people keep you on here. I've called the main office several times and said, please, get some music on or something, or somebody who cares about people. You don't understand how bad this world. And Donald Trump is going to be a communist. Donald Trump had this country booming like that guy just tried to tell you. Oh, no, you don't believe any of that. Where are you at in another freaking solar system than the normal people? All I want to do is, okay, make fun of Kamala, make fun of that Tampon Tim guy. Do something besides Donald Trump. My God. You need some new material, I know that.
Well, I think I've got a sufficient amount of material to get me through November 5th.
Yeah, I heard you mention Judge Janine 119. I'll bet you said that 300 times.
Well, I bet it was 1,000 times. So you don't listen every day, so you miss some of the times that I reference it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. What?
I hear you, man. Hey, Bob, I feel your pain.
You're like a comedian that does the same routine for 20 years.
Hey. When you hit on a winning formula, you don't change.
Formula? Yeah, right.
Hey, look, remember what Coke did? They had a winning formula, and it worked for them from the beginning. Then somebody, probably somebody named Bob from Vestal, said, oh, why don't you make a change? Why don't you make a change? Because you should make a change. They made a change. They switched over to New Coke, and it turned out to be the biggest debacle in the history of marketing.
If they got rid of you, I bet you the phone would ring off the hook.
All right. Well, we'll never find out, though, will we? It's 9:46 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Paul from Owego.
Hey, man. What's going on in Oswego?
Yeah, the big O. I'll tell you what's going on. Tomorrow morning, our superstar Olympian from Lansing, New York, Kyle Dake's going to be wrestling. So get up early in the morning and watch the shows. He's our local hero. I was out west.
All right, and what's that on? Is it on ABC or CBS?
I'm not. It's on our TV. My wife's got it all.
All right.
I have no idea about it.
That's the problem. It's so hard to find the channel that has the Olympics on.
I watched that kid at a freshman at the Omaha, Nebraska when he won as a freshman. He won in 4 different weight classes. He's our superhero from Lansing, New York.
And what time will he be on? What time is it on?
5:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh! I have to get up early.
Well, I'm up at 4 o'clock.
Well, that's good, but I'm not.
Myself.
Oh, I can't.
I'll tell you what, it's getting to be really. We're having a good time. We're going to look to the bright side of this thing and watch Kyle Dake win gold in Paris, France. All
right, thanks for the reminder. And who knows, maybe I'll get up early. There's nothing wrong with occasionally getting up early. It's 9:48. This is Bob Joseph on your side at News Radio WNBF. As we return to the busy phone lines, James in Binghamton, good morning.
Hey, I also think I could be wrong that Union Endicott's Emily Mackay is running today at 1:30 local time, Eastern time, in the women's 1500 in the Olympics as well. One of my favorite things of the Olympics is finding out where all these people, many of them are just still kind of amateurs, come from. Like, for instance, this giant dude who has now won 2 straight golds in the shot put for America. He's from a town in Oregon called Boring. Did you know there was a town in Oregon called Boring, Oregon?
No, but I know there's a company called Boring, and it's run by that billionaire who wrecked Twitter.
Oh, okay.
You know, he has a company, one of his companies, in addition to Twitter and Tesla, is the Boring Company. Yeah, I mean, truly.
I did not know that. I knew about SpaceX. Why are you derailing my shop?
Yeah, I know. By the way, I wanted to point out there is going to be a watch party today for Emily Mackay over at the Binghamton University campus. The watch party at the University Union Marketplace will start at 1:15 this afternoon. So they'll be cheering on Binghamton University graduate Emily Mackay. Watch party will be at 1:15, and I believe, according to this information that the university sent out, the actual live presentation is scheduled for 1:35. So I might go over there, you know.
Until there's a cease and desist for broadcasting network programming without
an ABC Olympics or CBS
all right,
Olympics.
Preserved, right? No, it's NBC, it's Peacock, but I wanted to hijack your show and just maybe you'll appreciate this, gush a little bit about media production. Like one of the things that got me interested as a child in the first place was like tape recording the prime time as a child in like Seoul, South Korea to watch like the next day. And you know, the Olympics are always seem to be a time when networks or NBC primarily like rolls out the next gen of live production styles, of graphics, of camera work, sports production. It's just awesome. And I know that with like the last Olympics, you know, it was kind of COVID Olympics. Nobody was there. Before that, it was way over it was in London, I guess. But they have just been doing so awesome with the coverage. If anybody's just been looking at regular terrestrial television, you're missing out because the meat of it is on the Peacock streaming app. I bought a month of that for like $8. The best $8 I've ever spent for entertainment. You know what? I'm gonna buy that next month though, but not because of NBC Olympics, but because they're finally going to start streaming Homicide: Life on the Street, which hasn't been available for streaming until this year. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. What I consider to be perhaps the best series ever on TV, certainly on the traditional networks. That was on NBC for, I think, 7 seasons, and one of the best written and best acted, and certainly from its overall feel. If you recall, that just the way, the sensibility and the editing and the shooting, I mean, it was a masterpiece. I guess I didn't realize. I guess I've only seen some choice episodes here and there. Stop trying to derail my. You
only have 45 seconds left. Focus, my friend.
I'm focused. No, this seems to be the first Olympics where they was definitely tailored toward the streaming age. So I've got my Fire Stick, and instead of looking for channels, you go on and you pick out your sport, or you go to the Gold Zone where they hired all the guys from the NFL who do the Red Zone coverage where they just go from game to game to game. And it's been unbelievable. I'm watching. Did you know they're doing this thing with parasailing with people on the surfboards that float out of the water? They're racing right now. I'm watching this. This is crazy. It's been unbelievable, and there's only 3 or 4 days left. But if anybody hasn't actually had a chance to check out the Olympics streaming on Peacock and all the ways that you can consume it and the quality of the production, it's unbelievable, man. And
maybe I'll check it out. Thank you, James. Our segment is over for now, but don't worry. We're going to continue for 2 more hours. Binghamton Now, Bob Joseph on WNBF. We're pleased to have back in the studio on News Radio 1290, Bob Graves. And it's been a while. It's been a while since you've been here. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So you have recently started to get involved with Veterans for Peace. That's an organization that has been part of our community for a long time, but just in the past couple of months, you have started to work with Veterans for Peace along with many other people here in the Broome County area.
Yes, I didn't even realize they were here until I ran into Jack Gilroy, former president of the local Chapter 90. It is a national organization, and there's even international members. Most of them veterans, but they also take on people who are friends of veterans and support the Veterans for Peace.
And I know we've had Jack Gilroy on the program several times over the years, and also Jim Clune, who's been very active. Actually, very active for well over half a century. One of these days, I'll have to talk with him just about his history of activism and just involvement in social issues here in the Binghamton area.
Yes. Jack Gilroy was my 8th grade history teacher at Maine Endwell.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I know some people who may have worked with Jack Gilroy. I know some Maine Endwell retirees who are from that same era. So, we may have something, or at least my circle may have something in common with him. So let's talk a little bit about Veterans for Peace for people who are not familiar with the group. As you mentioned, you weren't until fairly recently.
Well, they're very much interested in promoting diplomacy instead of violence. They believe that a great deal of diplomacy can be invested in and be far more successful, that a great deal of our wars are actually pushed by people who really stand to make a great deal of money. So it's somewhat corrupted and what have you. But also, very few people are aware of all of the costs of war that go beyond just the military budget and the death of civilians and also soldiers, of course. The infrastructure is destroyed. It takes decades to repair. The trauma, PTSD, a large percentage of homeless people are veterans. We don't cope well with the violence we give into, and it's very difficult to have a debate as to whether or not there should ever be any form of violence. But at the same time, America has been at war somewhere every year of its existence, except for maybe 15, 16 years. And it's been mostly to secure resources in our favor, which, how fair is that? Of course, we like to be on the winning side. Who doesn't? But at the same time, I don't think that we're as conscious of the impact that we have on the world.
Well, as this country has learned, sadly and repeatedly, it's pretty easy, relatively easy to stumble into war and for a conflict to turn into a war. But trying to end a war is time-consuming, incredibly difficult. In some cases, as this country learned in Vietnam and as we witnessed in Afghanistan, trying to come up with a successful exit strategy is, I won't say impossible, because ultimately it does come to an end, but it seldom is pretty.
Right. And with opposing philosophies, the acceptable solution is not universal. And of course, here in America, other than 9/11, we haven't had war on our land in quite a while. Since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, and it's one of the things about this topic, although it's so important and it affects so many lives in this country and so many lives around the world. And actually, when you think about it, almost everybody, regardless of where they live on the planet, in some way is directly or indirectly affected by wars. But it seems to be a topic maybe that it's so overwhelming that it doesn't get discussed much. I think some people come to a conclusion that what can you do? Sort of a fatalistic attitude that, well, as you alluded to early, there are a lot of interests, financial interests, in, say, the defense industry that certainly aren't going to want to see wars disappear. Because think about it. Think of the jobs that ultimately could be lost right here in the Binghamton area if say, suddenly a year from today we had global peace.
Our economy is deeply invested in the merchants of death, very much so. And it would be an upset to our economy to shift that, although I really think morally we ought to. But we're going to have to adjust to using resources for the purposes of more humanitarian and more productive purposes. But that's easier said than done. And, of course, one of the things we're up against is a narrative. And a society lives in its narrative more than in its realities. And so changing that involves opposing various different political attitudes on both the left and the right. So it's not an easy thing to work with.
It's 10:18. We're talking with Bob Graves with Veterans for Peace. One of the key reasons you're here today is because there will be an event in Binghamton tomorrow, something that has become a tradition on the 9th day of August.
Yes. On the 9th day of August, there's a commemoration of the bomb dropped at Nagasaki. And we'll have an event up at the First Congregational Church, which is on the corner of Main Street and Front Street. It'll be at noon. There'll be a few people talking. There'll be some signs. There will also be the dedication of a ginkgo tree that will be planted. And we'll also talk a little bit about what happened at Nagasaki, the 40,000 immediate deaths, but then the uncounted deaths from radiation and other causes, plus the disruption to that culture and society, which was amazing.
Is this open to everybody?
Oh,
the general
sure.
public?
Yeah, anybody anyone who can get there, as long as they're not out in the street, they're welcome to be there and observe what we're doing.
If people want to get involved with the organization, what can they do? How did you get involved a couple of months ago after you discovered Veterans for Peace was active in the Broome County area?
Well, I ran into Jack Gilroy, and he informed me about it. And I can tell you that if somebody's interested in getting involved, one of the easiest things they can do is I can give you my email address, which is bob@soundchisel.com, SOUNDCHISEL. And I can get them in touch with some people.
Very good. Anything else you wanted to add right now?
Other than the fact that we do this every year and that it's an important event, and we appreciate the support we can get from the community. And anyone who's a veteran or friends of veterans who's interested in joining with us, we would love to have more members.
Bob Graves with Veterans for Peace in Broome County. Thank you for joining us on Binghamton Now.
Thank you so much, Bob.
It's 10:20. This is News Radio, WNBF, and WNBF.com. Live and local. Isn't that the way Marconi wanted it? I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. Let's see what else. Oh, we haven't talked about the website too much today, WNBF.com. We have information about the shooting incident that happened the other night in Endicott. The houses that were struck, perhaps 12 to 18 gunshots rang out while people were just trying to enjoy a summer night in Endicott. Got details there at WNBF.com. And we also have some details about a new restaurant that'll be opening in a few days in a Binghamton neighborhood. WNBF.com. Check it out. Check it out. Oh, and don't just look at the headlines. Some people, I caught up on all the news on WNBF.com. I read all the headlines. Well, but you didn't read the story? Oh, no, I got all I needed to know. And I'm thinking, no, you didn't get all you need to know. If you're interested in what goes on around here, you have to actually read the story for all the information. Let's go back to the phones now. 1023. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Joe from Owego.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning. Mr. Nicosia is coming on. Would it be of any interest for you to approach him with the idea that in view of all of the warnings and things that happened meteorologically recently, many of them indicated that radar indicated hail or storms or whatever, would it be of interest to Mr. Nicosia to have your listening audience call in from those warned areas to see how accurate the radar indicated information was?
I'll try to remember to ask him.
Because it's, that's a fantastic experiment from a whole lot of different areas, observers, people with different situations to be evaluated, but all in all, the accuracy of, quote, radar indicated situations.
Well, I'll ask him about
evaluation.
I'll ask him about
evaluation of a process.
I will
Appreciate it.
I will ask him about the accuracy of radar indicated storms or tornadoes or whatever. So he will be coming on in a few minutes. WNBF at 1026. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bill, from the middle of Lake Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, welcome back. What's going on?
I don't know. I just I agree with Bob from Vestal with basically everything he's got to say. But I wanted to point out the top 1%, the richest 1% of the people in the United States pay approximately 45% of the taxes. I think they pay more than their fair share.
I'm sure they agree with you. I'm sure if Elon Musk was on the line, he'd say, amen, brother.
Yeah, I mean, how much should they pay?
I don't know. The guy who's getting paid $55 billion to run Tesla, I think he ought to pay more than he's paying. That's my opinion. I mean, how many billions of dollars does Elon Musk really need, after all? I could, and you could, enjoy life for the next at least 6 to 12 months with $1 billion, and then, I don't know, help support the cause of USA and freedom with $50 billion. Support American freedom.
Well, if I had $1 billion, I know I'd give most of it to, like, the animal shelters and stuff.
Well, I probably would too. I'm just saying Elon Musk could afford to be taxed somewhat more and not even notice. So some of his billions of dollars could actually help America get out of the mess it's in. Do you know America is in a huge financial mess? And at some point, the house of cards will collapse.
Yeah, well, and you know, as far as the gas prices go, as soon as Biden signed that executive order, overnight gas prices jumped to 90 cents a gallon.
All right. Well, if the election's about gas prices, we know who's going to win. Thank you for your call. It's 10:28. Let's squeeze in another call. Dave Nicosia is coming up shortly from the National Weather Service. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Well, so yeah, if the election is only about gas prices, we know who the winner will be. If that's the only issue, if you are a one-issue voter and the only thing important to you in this year's presidential election is gas prices, I have a pretty good idea who you plan to vote for. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Airport Road Bob, and I feel guilty calling in again this week.
It's okay. I don't care if people call in 5 times a week. I try to encourage people to call in only once a day. What else is on your mind?
I just want to remind everyone, what you do is very unique, and, they should all take the opportunity to enjoy the opportunity to call in and make their opinions. And one thing that you did to me years ago, and I appreciate, and, now if I call you and talk about something, I got a piece of paper in my hand that verifies it. You reminded me that, where do I see this? Where is the proof? And the next 90 days and every day that we listen to the radio, people keep spouting all these misstatements and misinformation, and, they want to just pick on other people, and this guy said this guy said that. Hey, just use the show for what it's for. Respect Bob, respect the other people that are listening, and give your opinion, and make sure you got your information in your hand, because Bob's going to ask you at some point. I don't even want to talk about national politics. We have so many issues here in the local government.
Hey, I got to run. Dave Nicosia is on the line.
Great job, Bob.
Thank you.
I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. It's live and local. Everybody has a voice, and everybody is permitted to speak. on the issues, whether it's local or national, right here on Binghamton Now. It's 10:30. This is WNBF Binghamton.
News Radio 1290 WNBF.
Comes the rain again. Well, sounds like a forecast to me. But will it really rain, or will the rain actually miss us? That, in fact, is the question. Binghamton's foremost weather expert, Dave Nicosia, now joins us live with the latest projections. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Thank you for that. I don't know if that's true what you just said, but, you know, I appreciate it.
I believe it.
Well, thank you.
My personal opinion is you are Binghamton's foremost weather expert. You're in charge of the National Weather Service office at Binghamton, so I'd say, at least on paper, it looks that way.
All right.
We've talked about
the weather.
Dave, we've talked about your decades of weather experience, especially in this region. You've spent most of your career doing forecasts in the Binghamton area, so by now, I'd say you've learned a thing or two.
Yeah, I know a thing or two.
Yes.
It's not to be dangerous.
But I know you've been very busy this week, as well as the entire staff at the National Weather Service office at the Greater Binghamton Airport, so I appreciate your time. Give us the latest guidance now as we look ahead to tomorrow and going into Saturday. Has there been much of a change since we spoke 24 hours ago?
Well, there's been some changes, yeah. Like usual, things aren't always exactly as, they're projected to be, like especially 2 days ago. What we're finding is the remnants of Hurricane Debbie they're going to be moving through a lot quicker than we had anticipated and faster. So we actually expect the rains from the remnants of Debbie to arrive possibly before sunrise tomorrow morning, which is a lot earlier than what we had talked about yesterday. And then the heaviest rain looks like it would be sometime in the afternoon and evening. And then it's possible that the rain really tapers off after midnight on Saturday, so Saturday at midnight. So Friday during the day and evening looks like when we're going to have the rains. And the amounts are really not at the level that we need to see to get any significant flooding, at least river flooding, okay? Right now, it looks like the rivers are going to be very high and probably go to minor flooding, to Susquehanna especially. But minor flooding is minor, just the normal areas that flood along the river. And we categorize minor flooding, just as its name implies, it doesn't really impact any infrastructure. There'll be some areas, roads that flood that are near the river, et cetera, fields, et cetera, but no real impact to infrastructure. When we go to moderate flooding, which we're not expecting now, that's when infrastructure really starts to get impacted. So, and we're not seeing that right now because the storm has sped up. Initially, it was coming through very slow and had us very concerned. But now all the models are in agreement that as Debbie comes north, she gets caught up in a faster flowing jet stream, and it just, kind of moves her on through. So that's good news.
at the height of the storm in the Binghamton area, say when it's most intense during the day tomorrow, what would the likely rainfall rate be generally? And with the understanding that certainly certain places could have much greater rainfall just given the nature of the way things work. But on average, as you think about the Binghamton area at the height of the storm as it moves through quickly, would it potentially be an inch an hour or even possibly more than that?
I think it could be possibly more than that. This is tropical air mass, so they're very efficient at producing rain if you've ever been in the tropics. So during the height of the rain, which is, again, this is projected to be sometime tomorrow afternoon, early evening. That could change a little bit. Maybe 2 to 3 inches per hour, which, again, flash flooding of the smaller streams and creeks and flooding in the urban areas like we just saw in Endicott a few days ago, that type of flooding is what we're more concerned about. And it's not going to really, the focus will be shifting on the more localized, small stream, poor drainage, urban area type of flooding. That's really what our focus is shifting to, because the rainfall rates, like you just mentioned, we could be looking at more than 2 inches an hour, 2 to 3 inches an hour, and it's not going to be everywhere, just in some isolated areas, some unlucky place. And that's what we tend to see a lot with these type of storms, is a few areas really get hit and then other areas are spared. So that's really what we're looking at. It's more localized flash flooding. So that's the biggest threat that Debbie has for our region.
So in addition to paying attention to your home and your neighborhood, if you're going to be out traveling anywhere, for one thing, tomorrow doesn't sound like a particularly good day for people planning to go on a walk or a run. But say, although some people will do it regardless of weather, but say if you're going to be driving around the Triple Cities, and certainly at some of the points where the rain is going to be most intense, keep an eye out for flooding in poor drainage areas and underpasses, whether it's Nanacoke Avenue in Endicott or some of the underpasses in Binghamton, that flooding is going to happen. Even if they have pumps, the pumps aren't going to be able to keep up with the volume of water that will be coming in a compressed period of time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the places that we recognize, that have had problems in the past, they're going to be at the highest risk, obviously. So, yeah, absolutely. You want to try to avoid those areas. And another thing, when the rain's coming down really hard, you're not going to be able to see very good. The visibility will be very, very low. And, traveling through that can get very hazardous. You know how it is when you're talking gully washer type of rain coming down at times. And, you're driving on the highway, you literally can't see, so people pull off. Right? And it's going to be that type of rain. And, it's not really, I don't think it's very safe to pull off on the side of a highway.
No, that was a quandary that I experienced late Monday afternoon. Visibility is approaching near zero, but I also know behind me there are people in cars and trucks who don't necessarily understand the premise that you have to really slow down. So I was thinking, well, maybe I could be like some of those people and pull off with my flashers turned on, and then I thought, I don't know. It makes me, I think I would feel like a sitting duck if I pulled over and waited for the weather to pass through. So I just continued to move forward at a reduced speed with the hope that whoever was behind me didn't think that you had to go 119 miles an hour just to get your load delivered on time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you could avoid travel during these heavier rain bursts, probably a good idea.
Well, the good news is with the forecasts, not just today, but for the last few days, I'd say thousands of people in the Binghamton area have had ample warning to adjust their schedules. So unless there's something that's absolutely necessary, you should be able to rearrange your schedule tomorrow to try to avoid going out on the roads and, at the times when the rain may be at its peak.
Yeah. If you can, obviously there are certain special circumstances like emergencies.
Well, sure, or news stories. If I have to go out and cover a news story, the breaking news isn't going to wait for anyone.
Yeah, you just risk your life, man.
Hey,
you're dedicated.
Well, it's happened before. People, saying, but Bob, one thing, a Kevlar vest can't save me from drowning, but might help in other news situations. So here's
get a life jacket.
Be like I won't name names. I was going to name a couple of prominent names, but that's unnecessary for this segment. People who, especially on certain cable channels, who seem to use the weather more for entertainment than information, but I digress. So let's have the complete forecast now for the Binghamton area, looking ahead, say, for the next 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, no problem. So we're going to talk about, like I said, the rain comes in probably before dawn tomorrow, comes into the Binghamton area. And then tomorrow is just going to be rainy, and it get the heaviest rain afternoon and evening. It goes down into the mid-60s tonight, and it's only going to get to the low 70s tomorrow. And then what's really nice is once this storm passes by early Saturday, we expect some sunshine later on Saturday with a high of 75, and then Sunday, mostly sunny. I said the word sun. High 71. And
I like that.
Even into early next week, low to mid 70s with maybe a chance for a shower on Monday, but then Tuesday and Wednesday highs in the mid to upper 70s, lows in the mid 50s. So a little taste of later summer, almost September-ish like weather starting. So, considering it's been pretty hot this summer, or pretty humid, I should say, this is going to feel pretty nice. So actually, after this passes, I think we got some, for the southern tier, we got some pretty good weather, at least through next Wednesday. So
very good. One quick question submitted by a listener just a few minutes ago. He asked me if I would check with you. He hears sometimes in broadcast coverage, or maybe sometimes even with the National Weather Service warnings, references to radar indicated. So certain storms, say a severe thunderstorm or even possible tornado, radar indicated. And he was wondering if it would be helpful for the National Weather Service if people who lived in one of those areas that was identified where, say, a radar-indicated thunderstorm or a possible tornado, if people actually contacted the National Weather Service to verify any aspect of what actually happened on the ground. Because he was, I think, curious about the accuracy of the radar-indicated storm systems. Is it helpful to the Weather Service?
Yeah, it's very helpful to report. However, we don't want you going out in the storm, okay?
So you're not supposed to go out. Radar-indicated tornado outside your house, so you should not go out and take a video.
Please go, take shelter. But once the storm passes, if you have damage, yes, we would like to know that. So absolutely. Our number, I can give, our number is 607-729-1597. Okay,
that number's been the same since I was a kid. I used to call that number all the time.
Yep, absolutely. Since probably since the office has been here.
Yep.
But yeah, and it's helpful. And our radar like when we issue a tornado warning, it says radar indicated. Our radar can detect the winds inside the storm, and we'll see a spinning of the winds inside the storm, but that doesn't mean the tornado has formed yet. It is a precursor to the tornado coming down. So we issue warnings on that because the idea is to get the warning out before the tornado touches down. And then for flash flooding, another example is the radar estimates how much rain falls for us, and then we compare it to the gauges, and we adjust and fine tune it. but we'll get a radar estimate of rainfall, and then if that's higher than the threshold for flash flooding, which we have soil moisture measurements, then we issue a flash flood warning, but it's based on radar because of the rainfall. So ground truth reports come from, we have spotter programs where we train people to report to us. So if this individual is interested, to visit our website or call that number I just said, and we would be happy to train anybody who's interested in reporting to us, because it's very helpful to us. Very, very helpful.
Would you be interested in doing a live update tomorrow morning?
I can do that.
All right.
I'll be here.
Want to plan on 10:30 again?
Okay.
All right. I think by then things might, as they say in the weather business, really be happening.
I'll be able to tell you exactly what's happening.
Well, you have a pretty good vantage point, both with windows and all the radar equipment. So yes, I really appreciate your contributions this week, because I know this is it is a very busy time, but also I was thinking this morning, yes, it's busy for you and for the forecasters at the office, but one of the most critical missions for the Weather Service is to actually disseminate the information, and that's why I think having these daily updates as the situation approaches has been helpful to assist people in planning and also being sure that they take steps to protect themselves and their families and their property.
Yeah, no, it's our pleasure. I mean, I'm happy to come on anytime, Bob. You know it.
Dave
Nicosia. Get a hold of me.
I will. I'll plan to talk to you tomorrow morning at 10:30.
Okay.
Thank you. Dave Nicosia at the National Weather Service, Binghamton office, live here on News Radio, WNBF. It's Binghamton Now on a Thursday morning. Let's go to the south side. Gary, you're on the air.
Morning, Bob. I'd like to talk about that terrible word that the right likes to use, socialism. And I have to remind everybody that this is a socialist country. Now, socialism would be defined as paid by the taxpayers and controlled by the taxpayers. And some of the socialist institutions that we have in this country is public water, public infrastructure, fire protection. Now imagine having privatized fire and you didn't pay your fee. They roll up in front of your house and say, well, we can't put this fire out because you didn't pay your monthly fee.
Which they have in some communities in California.
Correct. Public transportation is paid for by the taxpayers, run by the taxpayers. Police departments, public parks, public schools, and colleges that are cheaper than private colleges. The Postal Service, Medicare and Medicaid, Social Security, and the biggest one is the military. But also, let's not forget the National Weather Service.
That's right. So for all the people who don't understand the way things work in this country, maybe they need some educating.
Yeah, they can look it up under helpfulprofessor.com under the socialism. It seems to be that we're doing quite well. The public schools is 159,000 public schools in the United States. And if that gets, well, of course, the NEA, they want to privatize it. Schools with vouchers, that's how they're going to take them down. And the police department. What if you call the police department and go, well, you didn't pay your fee?
Well, yeah, they could charge every time a 911 call is dispatched. There's $100 just to respond, and then based on the nature of the incident, there could be a fee schedule. If it's a smash and grab from your car, that could be $50. If it requires more time in processing the scene, say a burglary or something like that, or heaven forbid a violent crime where crime technicians have to be called out to process evidence, it could probably, I suppose, cost you thousands of dollars.
Well, it seems to me that we use socialism a lot in this country. We need socialism. paid by the tax. You know, socialism is the enemy of the corporate oligarchs. They want to take over the police departments, privatize the postal service.
And prisons. Don't forget privatizing prisons. They're companies that are making a lot of money by incarcerating people. It's 2024. Maybe I better get an attitude adjustment, but I think these companies that are in the business of running prisons for profit, I just find it, can I use the word deplorable?
Yeah, there's a lot of logistics around there, the food that comes in, and there's a lot of they put a prison warden from down in Alabama or something in jail. He was caught with his hand in the cookie jar getting kickbacks from all the food companies and stuff that were servicing the prisons and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I think some of those prisons are feeding the people who are inside the facility things like gruel. They try to get the cost per meal down to under a dime per meal or something, and it's like, even Spam costs more than that. But no, that's what private enterprise does.
Well, if you're an anti-socialism and you're so worried about socialism, if your house catches on fire, the police department, you need a police department, this, that, don't dial. Don't bother.
Call a social worker. Hey, thank you. Appreciate your call. It's 10:53 at WNBF, the information station. Ron in the town of Dickinson, you're on the air.
Yeah, hello, Bob. Want to go back a couple of minutes to the statement you made. I don't know, to me it was a little like flowered over sarcasm. Vote this way if you want to reduce the price of gas. The price of gas may go down. Vote that way. It's to the heart of the matter. It doesn't have anything to do with the price of gas. It's petroleum. Name me something. Figure out something that's not associated with petroleum. There was a former guy that went to the heart of the matter. He went to the petroleum. He made us energy independent. You got any kind of prescription? You get anything in a bottle? You got paint on your house? You got vinyl siding? Medication, pair of shoes. Tell me something that's not associated with petroleum. The lower petroleum cost, it goes across the board. It crosses the board everywhere. It lowers the price. It gives us the ability to compete. One of the reasons why we can't compete, why we can't get business, is because the price of all these products to manufacture them, the cost to have electric, gas, all our utilities, and the welfare costs associated with socialism. Now, if you can, tell me something that's not associated with petroleum and the lower cost of energy.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your call. It's 10:55 at WNBF and WNBF.com. Yeah, I'd like to see the price of gas go back down to $2 a gallon, man. I'd like to see the oil companies build some new refineries, man. So we're not attempting to run this country on a crazy quilt patchwork of rundown refineries that are susceptible to breakdowns and explosions, man. Every time that an oil refinery has to be taken offline because of a major breakdown or because of substantial damage due to an explosion and fire, that's when you see gas prices spike. Oh, the other thing is, why don't they fix the system so hackers can't interfere with the distribution system as they did a few years ago and caused the price of gas to soar in the southeastern United States? How come he didn't fix that? For one thing, he can't. One guy can't fix it all. And one guy doesn't control the petroleum industry or the chewing gum industry. Supply and demand. Yeah, policies can have some potential long-term impact. But the oil and gas industry continues to rake in incredible quarterly profits. They're not hurting. Not based on the last reports I've heard. Over the past year, I've heard plenty of reports of major energy companies making record profits. So they don't seem to be hurting at a time that you claim you know who from Scranton raised your gasoline price. It's complicated. And, yeah, the president can set some policies. The president doesn't set gas prices or the price of cookies. It's 10:58. Live and local. I'm Bob Joseph on your side on Binghamton Now. News Radio, WNBF, WNBF.com. Binghamton Now is the place to find out what people are thinking. It's a community conversation. We conduct it weekday mornings from 9 to noon, and everyone is invited to contact the program and carry on a conversation. If you have a monologue prepared, this is not the place for it. If you have a monologue, call Sean Hannity or Dan Bongino or Mark Levin and run your monologue on their program. This is where you have a dialogue. It's a two-way conversation. Be prepared to talk to an actual person because artificial intelligence is not yet capable of hosting Binghamton Now. Oh, my gosh. The Osprey. Now, I want to go for a ride on this thing. I want to, but I guess I'm afraid. So they have this helicopter, Osprey, and of course everybody loves it because of its unique design. The V-22 Osprey. According to Wikipedia, it's an American multi-mission tilt-rotor military aircraft with both vertical takeoff and landing and short takeoff and landing capabilities. From its inception, I've been intrigued by the concept. And I don't know. Maybe it should be on my bucket list to fly on the V-22. So it was officially introduced in June 2007. So it's been in operation now for over 17 years. But even so, even though it's been in operation for a long time, we still have questions. So there's a new report, and this is just out from AP. A gear crack that led to a fatal crash of a V-22 last year may have been started by weak spots in a metal used to manufacture that part, according to documents obtained by the Associated Press. The crash killed 8 Air Force Special Operations Command Service members. It was the second time in less than 2 years that a catastrophic failure of a part of the Osprey's protor gearbox, which serves as its transmission, caused a fatal crash. Just over 2 years ago, 5 Marines were killed when a different part of that system failed. The crashes have led to an aggressive effort by the V-22 program office and manufacturer Bell Flight, I believe it used to be known as Bell Boeing, Bell Flight to find fixes for the critical system, which has some components wear down earlier than the military expected. So that's a long story, but eventually I think they're going to get the bugs ironed out of the V-22. And when they do, I think I'll book a flight. It's 11:14 here at News Radio, WNBF. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob. This is Vinny from Binghamton.
Oh, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Long time, no talk.
Well, I haven't really called in to comment on Wall's Tim. I think it was a good pick. I think we had some good selections. I like him because he reminds me. Actually, Chuck Todd said he was like a younger Joe Biden. And the thing that I've seen so far of him that I really like is he's that attack dog that I have been talking about that I wish Joe Biden had all this time. This guy isn't afraid to go after the Donald Trump, his vice president. He's not afraid to go after the Republican Party, and he's not afraid to go after the news media.
Well, it would be nice if, as Hillary said, that he could sort of be like a truth dog. I think that's what's needed this year.
We need to get that dog and follow them around, and every time they say these things, you know?
Well, that's it.
That's what I'm saying.
That's,
you can call him, you described him as sort of an attack dog. I think Hillary would say maybe he's more like a truth dog, standing for truth, justice, and the American way.
Well, what I mean by that, Bob, is when Joe Biden was being interviewed for what he said on the telephone call about being direct, let's get a bullseye. Why didn't you say anything? Have you interviewed Donald Trump about what he said about stand down and stand back? Did you interview him? Did you see what happened 3 months after he talked about stuff like that? Getting on the media. Listen, you want to come after me? How come you're not coming after this man? And then what he did is had way more influence. Did you see what happened on January 6th?
But they grade, and when I say they, I mean the liberal media, they grade Trump differently than the rest. Trump is in a class by himself because of his reputation. His reputation precedes him, so already the liberal media gives him a pass on about 99% of the strangest things he says and does because they just factor that in. That's all part of the winning Trump train formula, so they view it as uninteresting to their viewing audience.
And thank you, Bob. That's exactly what they should say. That's what you tell them. Just what you just said is exactly what you should tell the media. I know what you're doing, and my followers do too. And that's what you say to them. Don't be cute about it. Just put it right out there. I know what you got.
Well, the American public, if you put that, and I certainly would discourage anybody from using what I just said in those words, but come up with an explanation, and you could synthesize what I just said in many words. You could probably cut it down to about 15 or 20 words that even the most busy American could understand and basically appreciate what the liberal media is doing.
Well, I think I wouldn't. I would say exactly what you just said because, Bob, it's one thing about mopping the floors, but I want to get those corners. And I got time to talk to the American people and especially talk to my supporters. Talk to my supporters. Talk to the people that are sick of this. Talk to the people that are tired of having these like Christmas and Thanksgiving and graduation parties where everybody has to be silent because, someone's going to say something about politics. People are going to start arguing. It's going to get bad. So-and-so doesn't talk to me anymore. We're sick of this. We're sick of that. That's what you talk about because it's going on. I guarantee you. It just happened with these graduations that have gone on. Don't talk about politics. Well, why? Because it gets angry and everybody's mean and blah, 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 blah. You've never been like this before.
It didn't used to be that way up until about a decade ago. You used to be able to even discuss political issues, including some hot-button issues, without it devolving into just a hot mess.
Yeah, because I know we've always talked about this. Well, what I wanted to say was, and you hear these people come on your program and just talk all this nonsense. I mean, I heard Vic from the Force yesterday. Vic, man, come on. Going after his Army or his service record for this guy. Did you see what James Mathis said about the Secretary of Defense? Did you see what he said? What about Mark Esper?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. He said that Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people, does not even pretend to try. Instead, he tries to divide us. That was Jim Mathis. What about the second Secretary of State, Mark Esper? I think he's unfit for this office. He puts himself before the country. His actions are all about him and not about the country. And then, of course, I believe he has integrity and character issues as well. Bob, there's something that you always talk about. It's two wrongs don't make a right. What about 34? What about 34 wrongs?
But to his strongest supporters, those are 34 gold stars. So in standard society, or at least up until recent months, one felony conviction would probably... Now, look, everybody would... If you have friends and colleagues and people who have supported you in the past, and sometimes you get into a jam and ultimately you go to trial and you're convicted of a felony or maybe even nearly 36 felonies, of course they're going to support you because they don't want to desert you. I mean, they're not going to be fair weather friends, but they still, and when I say they, I mean many of Donald Trump's supporters still think that that's nothing to be concerned about. 34 felony convictions is only the result of some sort of court system that's rigged against their man.
That would be true if I'm talking to Donald Trump supporters. I'm not. I'm talking to all those that didn't want him.
But remember, most of the people listening to NBF are Donald Trump supporters. So what do you think about that?
Well, the WNBF? Hey, Bob.
Well, I'm saying, well, although this is Binghamton now, so wait, maybe the balance here, maybe it's not 95% Donald Trump supporters, maybe the actual percentage of Donald Trump supporters listening to this local program is lower. So actually, you may have a point. Continue then.
Oh, okay, but I'm not talking to them. I'm talking about, if you remember the debates. Do you remember how many people were up there at that debate that he didn't show up to? His vice president was up there. His vice president is not supporting him. What does that tell you? For crying out loud, how much else do we need? It's just absolutely crazy. What about his second national security advisor, H.R. McMaster? We saw the absence of leadership, rally anti-leadership, and what that can do to our country. I don't have to talk about John Bolton. I believe foreign leaders think he's a laughing fool. That's what his third national secretary advisor said.
And what about Rex Tillerson? We haven't talked about him today.
Oh, yeah. He said understanding of global events, his understanding of global history, his understanding of U.S. history was truly limited. It's really hard to have a conversation with somebody who doesn't even understand the concept for why we're talking about this. That's what he said.
I know. But anyway, well, we'll see. We'll see what the other viewers have to say. I think it'll be fascinating.
Okay.
Well, hang in there. Hang in. Don't leave now. Stay till at least noon.
Oh, yeah, I'll listen. But, Bob, it's very predictable.
No. It could be surprising. You might be surprised.
Hey, Bob, here comes that old cart. Crickety cart. Here we go. Here come the Trump supporters. Go ahead.
All right. I'm more optimistic. Let's just see how it plays out on live radio. Because anything can happen. There's no guarantee. I don't know what the next caller is going to talk about. Good morning. You're on the air at 11:23. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Gary Westside. I'm not going to bash Vinny today. Imagine that the next call after Vinny's not going to bash him. That's amazing.
No bashing. Wouldn't it be funny? How about tomorrow, our program, our new Friday theme is No Bash Friday. On Friday mornings from 9 to noon, no one can engage in any bashing.
I would like that. I want to talk about somebody, Bob, that I know you don't like, and I want to see if you can find something positive with him. So let's talk about Elon Musk. Forget about Twitter. Let's go to the Neuralink. I mean, this thing could be either amazing or it could be the end of us all, right? If they figure out what the brain can do and the signals and where you can put in electricity to make people think certain things, bring back eyesight, cure diabetes, right? So they got two people now, and the one guy who is a quadriplegic, who I watched on a podcast. What a positive person this guy is, Bob. Unbelievable. Anyway, he can now converse with people because he could move a mouse around, and he could do work on a computer if he wants, or watch programs by moving a mouse with his thoughts, which is pretty amazing. What do you think about the Neuralink side of Elon Musk and where that's going to lead us?
It's promising. I find what I've read about it, I haven't read much, but I find what little I've gleaned from general publications to be promising. So I would encourage him to continue to fund that research. I don't know how it's going to, nobody knows where we're headed or how it'll turn out, but that's true of most cutting edge research. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I encourage what I encourage Elon Musk to do with his talents, his intellectual talents, and his financial largesse. I encourage him to use that combination that he's been blessed with to try to work to make things better in the world. And in my personal opinion, I believe he's caused unnecessary damage to Twitter, but he had the money and he bought it, so it's his right, as they say, you break it, you bought it. In this case, he bought it and broke it, but I still use it too. So, I respect Mr. Musk. I disagree with some of his decisions, but I am fascinated by him. I would love, and it won't happen, but I still would love to have an hour-long live interview with him about everything. I mean, about his early life, and then...
Have you ever tried?
No, no. So,
well
maybe I will. It's interesting because
he does a lot of podcasts.
Well, I know, but he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He does very few interviews. Right. But what I've seen most of the time when Elon Musk wants to speak publicly, it's usually, but not always, in a setting that he has complete or near complete control over. Although, having said that, remember, wasn't it last year, he did a memorable, intriguing interview with a New York Times business writer or columnist, and he said some things, including some things that could not be run on broadcast radio because of language requirements or restrictions. But that was sort of a freewheeling interview, so it's conceivable, not likely, but it is possible that if I somehow made a request that eventually reached him, that against all odds, that he would agree to be on the program. Maybe not an hour, but maybe for 30 minutes. I mean, he has indeed occasionally been interviewed by people from mainstream news organizations, and I don't think there have been any preconditions about the topics or, no, you can't talk about this or give me a list of your questions in advance. I don't think, because I wouldn't agree to that if he said, yeah, I'll do the program, but there are 3 conditions. You can't talk about this, and you can't talk about that. Oh, and I have to see all your possible questions in advance. And I would do a live interview with Mr. Musk if there were no conditions attached. But I also would say to him, or if there was an intermediary who helped set it up, I'd say, but don't be unduly concerned because it's going to be a fair interview. It's not going to be a gotcha interview. It's not going to be an interview designed to make you say something that you don't believe in. I mean, it's going to be designed for you to talk honestly and as completely as possible, but I'm not going to do something that you'll say, oh, you suddenly changed the topic and I wasn't prepared for that question and I wound up saying something that I really didn't mean. That's not going to be my intent. So I think I would strive for a really, really balanced interview, but there certainly, I would not shy away from some of the concerns I've expressed about Twitter. So if he said, somehow I've heard that you're unimpressed with the changes that have been made to the Twitter platform, including renaming it since I bought it. So since you're so negative about what used to be Twitter, I'd appreciate it if you not ask any questions about that. I mean, then it'd be a non-starter but it wouldn't be the whole interview. I would try to talk about as many of his ventures as possible, whether it's Neuralink, Tesla, the Boring Company. I mentioned that earlier today.
Why not focus on the positive? Focus on the positive.
Well, no, I'm going to focus.
There's a negative.
I'm going to focus on everything. It's, if he says, so Bob, is your intention for this to be a positive interview? And I would say, that's not my plan. My plan is for it to be a balanced interview. So could there be some negative or things that you would perceive as negative in the interview? Could be. Will there be some positive things? Absolutely.
Oh, I hope you wouldn't ask him about a Speedy sandwich.
I probably would at the end, because here's the sad reality. I could do a 50-minute interview with Elon Musk, and if I put a story on our website about Elon Musk admits he had a Speedy sandwich and he loves lamb Speedies, that would get a lot of attention. So, yeah, that probably, he ought to be prepared for the final 60 seconds to suddenly ask about Speedies, because I'm from Endicott. Sorry.
But Bob, what a world we live in. If we want to watch video of one of the smartest men in the world, we could go online and do this. I mean, it's an amazing thing that we're able to do that, right? And just think of like 150 years ago, you could read their books and stuff, but, there wasn't even radio back 150 years ago, I don't think. There was no interviews. But now we could take the smartest men in the world and see what they're saying today. It's pretty amazing. I hope you do get an interview with them, Bob.
Okay. Well, as they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained, so maybe I will put in a request. I'm not going to work too hard at it, because I do think the odds are against probably him ever reading my request. I would say if he read my request, he might give it serious consideration, but I'm not really sure how to. Maybe by Twitter. Although he gets, who knows how many messages he gets every day from whether it's journalists or anybody else in the world via Twitter. So not sure if he has a program that is capable of selecting a wonderful, serious request from a Binghamton radio host and giving that priority, flagging it as high priority. Maybe I'll try it. The worst that could happen is there would be no interview, right? 11:32. This is Bob Joseph, live on your Thursday morning on WNBF. Thursday morning in progress with information and some opinions blended in for a delightful radio souffle. National Weather Service has posted a flood watch for the Binghamton area. It'll be in effect from tomorrow morning through late tomorrow night. Excessive runoff may result in flooding of rivers, creeks, streams, and other low-lying and flood-prone locations. Creeks and streams may rise out of their banks. Here's the complete forecast. Cloudy this afternoon. Showers likely. Maybe a few thunderstorms. High 71. Cloudy tonight with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Low 68. Tomorrow, showers and possibly a thunderstorm. Some of the storms could produce heavy rainfall. High 76. Rainfall in the Binghamton area between 1 and 2 inches possible. Tomorrow night, showers and possibly a thunderstorm. Another 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rain. And then Saturday, the sun will shine with a high of 78. Right now in downtown Binghamton, it's 67, 19 Celsius at News Radio WNBF at 11:36. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. It's Robin Fort Crane. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good. Not bad. Hey, I think you should check this out. That Jamie Raskin, he's one of the lead Democrats in the House of Representatives, he revealed at a book signing how the Democrats are going to start the next Civil War on January 6th. He said, here's what he said that they're going to do. He says, we're going to say, if Donald Trump wins the election, we're going to say on January 6th to the rampaging Trump mobs, he said, that he's ineligible. And he says, and then we're gonna get ourselves some protection, and we're going to be on a civil war footing. That's exactly what he said. You should go play it. I'm kind of surprised you haven't, because that was what.
Well, who did the interview?
I don't know. There was like 4 people on the stage, and he was, like I said, it was a book signing at someplace. I believe it was in Washington, D.C.
Well, find out what website that was on. I can't believe he would stoop that low.
It's everywhere.
Quick, use your Google and find a website, because I need to know which website published that and why I haven't heard about it.
Oh, go to Infowars.com.
No, not Infowars.com, like an actual mainstream news site. You know, not something that is set up to publicize things. But he said, and it was unedited, what you just said on the air a moment ago, he said that, and you could tell it was not edited in any way. It wasn't altered.
Yep, it was not altered.
Okay.
It was unedited, and it's on several websites, Bob. It's not just Infowars. Like I said, I've seen several people talking about it on different channels on BitChute. I don't know if it's on YouTube, because I don't use YouTube. But
all right, well, I'll look into it. If true, that's big.
Just type in Jamie Raskin Civil War and watch what pops up.
Well, I have, but I've seen on some of the websites that are writing about it, their websites, I'm not exactly sure about their truthiness.
Just look at the videos, Bob.
Well, I'm trying to find one. I see a video, but it's an hour and 2 minutes long, and I don't have that kind of time. I'm looking for the actual clip somewhere.
There should be one like probably an hour or a minute 30 seconds.
That's what I'm looking for. Hold on, because that's what I want to see. You know, I'm not going to spend 62 minutes finding the precise point, at a book signing where he said that. So hold on. You know me.
I'm glad. You should look at this.
Well, of course. I'm just, if he said such a thing, that's reprehensible.
Oh, it's horrible.
But, but remember, Jamie Raskin doesn't represent the Democrat Party.
Bob, he led the impeachment garbage against Trump. Remember the nonsense, wasted time and money? And they couldn't do anything because he didn't.
But Jamie Raskin is nobody right now. He's a nobody.
He's not a nobody. Good God, he represents Maryland, Bob, the frickin' heart of the military-industrial complex. Don't tell me he's nobody.
Well, okay, so he's one of 435. So that'd be the same as Mark Molinaro saying something about it. Yes, one member of Congress who represents one congressional district in some state said something. I mean, what if AOC said it? Would you be mad then?
She's an idiot, Bob. No, I wouldn't be mad. I'd laugh at her, just like I laugh at everything else she said.
Come on.
But Jamie Raskin,
not everything.
Jamie Raskin is a serious politician.
Well,
He's been there many terms.
All right.
So you can't downplay what he did.
Well, I can until I hear it. I see clips, but I still the one clip where he allegedly was talking about civil war is him talking about Republicans. Let's listen. This is Jamie Raskin, and it's a 25-second clip of Jamie Raskin talking about civil war. Since you asked for it, let's hear what he said. This is on. I know it's the website you don't like. Sadly, it's on YouTube. But let's listen together. Jamie Raskin talking about civil war. Wait a second. The technology here.
There's a civil war taking place within the Republican Party and caucus, and that civil war might just turn into a purge of any moderates. It's starting to look like there's a excuse me. It's starting to look like there is a consolidation of the party around Trump and around the MAGA wing. So I think the GOP right now might be the POT, the party of Trump. There's a civil war taking place within the Republican Party and caucus, and that civil war might just turn into a purge of any moderates. it's starting to look like there's a excuse me. It's starting to look like there is a consolidation of the party around Trump and around the MAGA wing. So I think the GOP right now might be the POT, the party of Trump.
All right. So he's talking about civil war and how it's in the Republican Party and how the GOP turned into the POT, party of Trump.
That is not the clip, Bob. I told you what he said. He said, "Well,
I know, and I put in Jamie Raskin in Civil War. What else can I do? You know, I'm just one man."
That's not him, Bob. That's not the right one. You should see it. It's him sitting on a stage, and it says "Politics and Prose" on a sign behind him. He's one of several people on the stage when he rattled off this stuff. So,
well, he ought to. If he said that, and I'm serious, Rob, I don't doubt you. So if Jamie Raskin said what you just said a couple minutes ago, what you attributed to him, I think he ought to retract that.
I think he should be impeached.
Well, I don't think his Republican colleagues are going to impeach him. I mean, because once you start that, it's a slippery slope where every member of Congress then will be vulnerable. So maybe, because what happens, say in January, if the House winds up being controlled by Democrats, I'm not predicting that, by the way, but say if the House is controlled by Democrats, then will Democrats start trying to impeach Republican members of the House?
Just go to Infowars.com and watch it there.
I can't watch Infowars. I just can't. I'm sorry. I can't. I need a reputable source. That's not in the. It's not the type of. I mean, you can watch it. A lot of people watch it, but I don't trust it. The Infowars. Even the name alone makes it sound like they have an agenda. Unlike MSNBC. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF. Back to the phone. Skip and Whitney Point. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, I've thought about this call ever since yesterday. When I listen to you, I hear a couple guys, especially that one guy, I can't think of his name. He calls in and he just thinks that Trump is the savior of the world, can do no wrong, and the Democrats are all jerks. I would like you, if you could, and I know you remember these guys, you know these guys who they are. If Trump wins, which I pray to God he doesn't, I would like you to wait a year after he's in power and then call these guys and see just what they think of him then, because he's going to ruin this country, and they're going to be the first ones that he sets on, just like he did Pence.
You mean when his supporters were calling for the death of his vice president, that sort of thing?
No. About every time I listen, this one guy and a couple guys, they call and they just think Trump is all it. And if Trump wins, which I hope, he's going to destroy this country. And then I want to hear what those guys, I want you to, if you could, bring them on the radio and say, what do you think of him now? Because they're going to be the first ones that he attacks, just like he did Pence.
All right. I'll be sure to ask him.
Pence was all for him and this and that and the other thing.
How long do you think it'll take if he's sworn in on January 20th? How many days do you think it'll take before he wrecks things?
Oh, March, April, anyway, at the latest.
So it'll take him between 2 and 3 months to really wreck everything?
I believe it.
All right. I'll be sure to ask those people, because you're right. I know who they are.
Yeah.
Because what we need, Skip, in my opinion, what we really need on this program is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And that's what we need, not just on this program, but in local government, state government, federal government, and even in the business world. Accountability.
You're right. We do, and we don't have it.
All right. Well, that's going to change. That's going to change starting January 20th.
Perfect. Good.
All right. Thank you. That was a good idea. So starting January 20th, you could circle it in your radio guide. Accountability will be pursued on this program. So think carefully about the things you say between now and November 5th about the presidential election, because I'll be keeping track. And if you call in afternoon, after 12:01 p.m. on January 20th, if Donald Trump has been sworn in as the president, be prepared when you call in starting that day and every day forward in 2025, 2026, and so on. Be prepared to be held accountable after he wrecks the country. It's 11:51 at WNBF. We're live and local. I'm Bob Joseph, here to do whatever I can to help. Let's take another call. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob, I think that guy was talking about me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, but you already called once today. It was Bob from Vestal. So everybody is encouraged to call in once a day here at the station. So I know that he'll be calling in tomorrow. That's the good thing. Everybody gets an equal opportunity to make one call per program. And that way we have a better variety of your favorite callers. So that way, say if there's somebody that you really like, you know they'll be calling tomorrow. Or, for that matter, if there's somebody for some reason you're not enamored of, well, then that person, she'll call in tomorrow. You don't have to worry about being annoyed by the same person twice in the same program. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Tom from Susquehanna.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Yeah, listen, that guy that called up about the, we have to apologize when Trump destroys the country. This is coming from the same people that tried to make us believe that Biden was in his right mind for over 3 years, until finally it got to the point where he's walking around like a vegetable and he can't even do anything. So see what happens with that. What do you think?
Well, I think you're entitled to your opinion.
Right. But, I mean, this is what they're doing. Now they're lying to us about that other guy, the vice president.
Who, Vance? Hey, I never... Well, look, the one thing that I really do like about J.D. Vance is his beard. I mean, it's not the best beard, but it's not bad for a vice presidential candidate.
Yeah, no. The man is capable and very good, And
I didn't say he's incapable, and I certainly have never said he's not very good. He's very good.
No. Right, it's not you, Bob. I'm talking about some of the people that are calling up your show.
Oh, the negative people, the people who are part of the negative crowd.
Well, they're not negative. It's just that if they actually believe what they're saying, it is the country is really in a bad shape.
This country's not in really bad shape. I think overall this country's in pretty darn good shape between you and me.
The idea that Biden looked good.
Well, Biden didn't look good, but the good thing about that is there's no way they could conceal it, because every time you saw him on TV or every time you spoke, you could see for yourself.
Yes, but they still defended it.
Well, of course you're going to defend it. If that was someone that was a friend of yours or a family member, you're not going to throw him under the bus, not in that condition.
No, but I wouldn't let him make a fool out of himself.
Well, that's something you have to take up with Dr. Jill Biden. She's the one who permitted that. It's more on her than members of the Democrat Party.
No. It was the party that did that.
No, it's Dr. Jill for allowing him to go out there in public when he was not really capable of looking presidential, to be honest.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Jill, that's another joke.
Dr. Jill Biden. But I'd love to interview her. Hey, I'm out of time. I'm out of time for the show.
Oh, okay, Bobby. Good show. Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks, Tom. It's a good show, but I'll tell you what, tomorrow's show, believe it or not, is going to be even better. And I'll be here tomorrow from 9 to noon. I hope you'll join me on Binghamton Now. Bob Joseph on News Radio WNBF.